So finally, we are in the last question, question number 22. Before I begin this, I just wanted to let you know I'm getting a lot of messages on Telegram. Many of you guys, many of the students are asking me for completion, why I delayed. I first apologize. It has been delayed when I did the writing part, especially for grade 11. It's delayed. I am sorry for that. But one more thing is, I'm not able to reply to everyone in the messages. I will try to get back to you. Some I have replied, many I have not because there are so many messages. And it has been really, really busy days for me from the last week because I had problems with my laptop. My laptop stopped working. So I had to retrieve all the data, get it to my other laptop, the software, this, that, the recording thing. So it took a long time. So I had got delayed by many days. So you can see in some days I've not even uploaded single video. And then not only that, just yesterday my car broke down in the middle of the road. I didn't, it was just not switching on and there was lots of problems. So I had to leave in the middle of the road. It's not near my house as well. It's far away. I had to take taxi and come back. And even today, I didn't even go over there. It's still, in a parking away from my house, maybe 5 minutes drive. So lots of things happening. So that's why I have been delayed because of this unfortunate circumstances which were unavoidable. I apologize for the delay, but I hope the other videos were there on time and you could have gone through them. And I hope now at least you have some time, so please make the most out of it. Now we will do the last question. It is to graph horizontal translations of trigonometric functions. Here, we must know a few of the basic graphs of trigonometric functions, that is sine, cos, tan, and everything. Once you know the basic, then you can easily graph them. Now, for example, if I'm looking at sine graph, I know in my mind the sine graph, okay, that is a very bad line. This is the sine graph. Now, sine graph always originates from 0 and its period is 2 pi. That is 360 degrees. I'll write in degrees and pi. Now, over here, half of 2 pi is pi or 180 degrees, and then the middle of this is 270 degrees, or it is 3 by 2 pi, and lastly 90 degrees is pi by 2. These are very important points. Same thing can be translated over here: negative pi by 2, negative pi, negative 3 pi by 2, and so on. Now here you can understand this, it's the same thing. It'll be negative 90, negative 180, and so on. Now when we draw sine, it starts from 0 and it peaks to the max at 90 degree, and then it comes down and touches the x-axis again at pi like this, and then it again peaks down the maximum point at over here 270, and then the minimum point over here, sorry, and then it goes back and it finishes a period. Now same thing happens over here. It goes and peaks down max at pi by 2, and over here it touches the 0, and then again it peaks maximum. So when it's down it's minimum, up it's maximum, and then something like this, and this point will be wherever it touches will be minus 2 pi. This is sine graph. It may not be accurate, but this is the idea of the sine graph. This is important to understand, memorize this. What is the maximum value? Again, it's not correct because this both must be at the same point, minus crooked, but just to understand, give you a picture about it. The maximum value will be always 1, minimum will always be minus 1. This is about sine. Now, if I'm doing cos, it starts from here 1 and it touches 0 at pi by 2, sorry, 90, and then it will over here be the minimum point over here. Again 270 touches 0, and at 2 pi it peaks 1 again. See, this is the point. Okay, over here. Same thing happens over here at the back. It goes down like this and it comes over here and like this, and then we will have something like this. Okay, so you can see the difference between sine and cos. They are same thing, range is same, domain is same, all real numbers, but the phase shift is the thing. There's a shift of 90 degrees. See the difference over here? The maximum and maximum is 90 degrees or pi by 2. This is the concept between the sine and cos. Now, for a natural graph, there are few things which you must know. Amplitude is 1. Okay, whenever there's sine we draw, it is just y equals sine theta. This amplitude is 1. What is the period? Period is 2 pi. Period is some, see now from here, let's see sine. It repeats, it is unique till 2 pi, but after that it will start repeating like this and like this. It keeps on repeating. So you can see 2 pi is unique, but then it repeats. Even with cos, 2 pi. Here we started, it'll come end over here, then again it repeats. So that's 2 pi. Phase shift, initially when you are only sine, it's 0. This is the natural position, starting positions for sine and cos. If it's starting at 0, 0 like this, the phase shift is 0. Over here also it's 0. Okay. This is not there, but we will have for different graphs. And the domain and range, this is another important thing. Here the domain and range is all real numbers. See, not range. Domain is all real numbers. You can have any value of theta, you will get answer. It'll be a 0, 1, anything. But the range is only from 1 to -1. You can put any value over here. It won't exceed 1 or -1. So that is the thing. That is the domain and range. Now here then, if you look carefully, what is the difference between the sine and cos graph? It is 90 degrees or pi by 2. That is sine theta plus pi by 2 is equal to cos theta. This is one of the identity from this graphs. The phase shift is only by pi by 2 difference. Now let us look into this graph. Now ignore the cos for a minute. Ignore this also for a minute. Now let's only focus over here. Let me just increase the brightness, thickness. Here let's compare. This sine is sine itself. Now whatever is there inside the theta, theta plus pi equated to 0. What happens now? Theta equals to minus pi. Now what does this mean? This means all the points of the sine graph, the brown color graph, is shifted by 180 degrees or negative pi backwards. Negative means backwards. So from here, this much is 90. You go over here till here. This point to over here. This point to over here. Now if you draw a new graph, and now what about this point? This will be over here, the new point. Everything is shifted over here, see? So this point 0 will be over here, new graph, and this next point will be over here, and you can see this would be over here, it will be like this, and so on. And over here also you can see it will be like this. Okay, something like this, the graph. Now we will just compare with the original answer. You can see over here it's 0. At 90 it is down. At 120, 180 it will be over here. Same thing backside. So this is the answer for the graph. Okay. Now if you know the graph of cos and sine, then easily you can relate this. That's very easy to relate it. Okay. But now I will tell you the few other things. What are few other things that you must remember? I'll remove this up. See, you can see this is just phase difference of pi, so everything is shifted from the original sign. It is shifted back to 90 degrees. Okay, now what about the other things? The standard form is always given by y is equal to a sine b theta minus k h over here. This can vary, doesn't matter much. This is basically the phase shift. H represents the phase shift. I will tell you what exactly it is. First, a is the amplitude. A is generally 1. Over here also it's 1. That means the maximum point can be positive 1. Minimum is -1. That is the thing. A is the amplitude. What about B? B here is depicting what happens to the period. There is a formula for period. Period is given by 2 pi by B. Okay? This is representing the period. Now here, what is the B value in this given function? Given, see over here, sine theta plus pi, right? Sine theta plus pi. What happens to the B? A is 1, B is also 1. So it is 2 pi by 1, and now the period is 2 pi. That means one complete cycle will be finished at 2 pi, and yes, that is correct. Okay. What next after that? This is done. B is done. H. Now, how do we find H is? Basically, theta minus H is the standard form. So over here, if there is plus, you should just take minus pi. Or the other way is, whatever you have the answer over here, theta equals plus that value, this whatever is inside there, must be equated to 0. And now solve it. Theta equals minus pi. This is the answer. Is that clear? So this is the thing. So these are the things, that is amplitude, period, and phase shift. Once you're done with that, you can graph it easily. Here we know the phase shift is pi radians. So everything moves backwards by pi. Sorry, not by 90 degree, it's by pi. So now we should know the original graph was like this. So it moved everything by pi 180, 180, 180, and so on. Okay, so sorry, from the blue graph, what am I drawing? Blue graph over here. See, it all moved by pi to the left side. This is the thing. Now, if you're thinking, oh no, this is very difficult, how will I do it in calculator, or get the table? I will show you how we can get it. But before that, the domain is all real numbers, minus infinity to infinity, and range is minus 1 to 1. Now let's take out our calculators. Here, let's take mode 7. Here what you have to do is write this equation. Now first of all, you need to press shift mode, and radian mode is given by 4. Whenever trigonometry is there, radian. And once you use radian, you can use pi. So what is theta? That is alpha x plus pi. Okay, plus pi, sorry, shift and pi, this one. Close the bracket. Where do you want to start? I will start from, say, minus pi. That is minus 180 degree. But I don't need to write 180 degree. I'll just write minus pi. Because this is in terms of pi by 4. Or you can write, now, one important thing. Don't write 90 because it's in radian. You must write this in pi, pi by 2, and so on. I will write it over here. 180 is pi. 360 is 2 pi. This one over here is 3 pi by 2. And lastly, we have 90 as pi by 2. Same way, minus pi by 2 and minus pi. So let's take minus pi as the starting point. From here we'll get the point. And then 1 as, oh sorry, what did I do? I start, this should be minus pi. Let's just clear it off because I put some error. It's sine alpha x plus pi, close the bracket, sorry, it's plus pi, close the bracket. And now what happens is press equal to. This g of x is not the, you're graphing only one function, so ignore this graph. Now start it at minus pi here. That will be equal, that is starting point. Now end will be let's end at 2 pi, okay? Now the step is very, very important. How much at every interval, how much interval do you want the value? Always give it as pi by 2. That would be the best thing. You can even give pi by 4, but I would generally prefer pi by 2. So I'll get values of 0, 90, 180, and so on. So what I do is generally, it'll be pi divided by 2. This is it. Now you can see the table. Negative pi, that means over here, the value will touch 0. Yes, correct. And what is that negative 1 this is negative 1.575 means negative pi by 2. Pi is 3.14 divided by 2, negative 1.57. 1.57, yes, it's at 1. Correct, maximum. What is at 0? When x is 0, it's 0. Yes. What is that again? Positive pi by 2 or negative 1.57. It's minus 1. Yes, down. Next, over here, these are the points. This is how you can get the points as well. But if you know the graph already, you do not need to worry about it. Directly, you can get it up, get the points. This is the main concept behind this. So please make sure you understand this, and then you can graph any of these equations. Now, if you're thinking of tan, it's the same thing. But tan graph, look at this. Is this tan graph exactly? No, there is some change, right? There's a change in the phase shift of tan. So tan is really not like this. The tan graph actually will always have 0, 0. Okay, this is the thing. It'll go like this and like this. Okay, always. But look over here. Because there is minus pi by 2, that means it's shifted by 90 degrees. This point is shifted by 90. So you can see over here, the full phase, which is like over here till this, actually it was supposed to be over here like this, but now there is a difference of all the points by pi by 2. Now here it's relatable, you can take it left or right, it doesn't matter, because the same shape is continued, right? But for sine and cos, make sure you understand this sine is very, very important. Okay. Now, still over here, theta minus pi by 2, make it equal to 0. Theta is pi by 2. Positive pi by 2. Really, this graph will be something like this. Shift it all to the right by pi by 2 value. That's it. And that's how we get the answer. Now, this can be done in calculator. I just showed you same thing, substitute over here and you will get the answer. Now, one more thing. What about the amplitude? Amplitude is what has been multiplied, nothing, therefore it's 1. What about the period? Now, 2 pi is only for, sorry, this is 2 pi, is only for sine and cos. Tan, it's not 2 pi, it's only pi. Always it's only pi, okay? The period is given by pi by b. Modulus of b, because it can't be negative, it's always the distance, right? That's why we write modulus. It's always distance. So what is the b value here? Nothing is there, so it's 1. So this period is remaining the same. And now what you need to do is graph it. Oh, phase shift. What is the phase shift here? Phase shift is plus pi by 2. These are the only three things that's asked. The amplitude 1, phase b value is 1, so you can find the period as pi and then pi by 2. And then what you do is, last thing, graphing it. Graphing, if you know the knowledge of y is equal to tan theta, then you can just shift it by pi, okay? So you can just look into the Desmos. Just if you have time, put it in Desmos and then do plus or minus pi by 2, you will get it. So that is the concept. Now over here, it is not all real numbers. It's never all real numbers as domain. Here what happens is, now look, where is the asymptote? Wherever the period ends. In the sense, so I'll just take this over here. At every pi by 2, actually for this is for tan graph, pi by 2 and minus pi by 2, there is an asymptote. At this point and this point, there is always asymptote, okay? It breaks the dotted line like this. But now since there is a period of pi by 2 over here, you can see, we need to add this up to over here. The domain changes. It's at pi and this will be 0. Okay? So it's theta like this. But we can't write only over here. Then again at 2 pi and again at 4 pi and so on. It keeps on varying every pi. Sorry, 3 pi and 4 pi. So what we do is we write only pi. If it was pi by 2, we just write pi by 2. Here we write pi less than theta. Again write pi. But multiply these with n integers. Okay. So this is the thing. Multiply by n, where is integer, so it's minus or plus. This is how we get it. Oh, sorry, not pi. This is pi n plus pi. Okay, every time it's been added. This is the thing. So this is only for the asymptote. If it was pi by 2 over here, the asymptote was at pi by 2, then you have to write pi by 2 times n. Here less than pi by 2 times n plus pi. Every pi you should. This plus pi is always constant. Only this, if it is, see, add this, whatever the phase shift and see what is the, where the asymptote lies. It's at pi. So write pi n. But multiply by, the n is the integer, right? And don't forget to add pi over here. That is the period. That's it. And what is the range? Range is all real numbers because it goes until infinity upside, okay? That is the thing. Now from here on, you can do all the problem by yourself with the same concept. Please apply the same concept and make sure you do it. Now here you can see it's pi by 90, theta plus 90. That means it's basically like a cos graph. This is equal to cos graph. See, it's all shifted at 90, right? That it goes to the other side, minus 90. So this is basically a cos graph, okay? This is equal to cos theta. Same way over here, it's pi by 45. Please look at the graph. Please look at the problems. Everything is available. Please make sure you solve it by yourselves. Now I'll just skip through these problems. Just the values changes, the concept remains the same. Now if the amplitude changes, now if there is an amplitude over here of 2, then this doesn't stop at 1 and 1. Amplitude 1 means from 0 it's 1, from 0 it's minus 1. It will just shift. It's more like that, okay? It'll be till 2. This point goes up till 2. And over here, see, now we have 3 amplitude. That means in the graph, maximum point is 3, minimum is minus 3. Then the concept remains the same. I hope you have this presentation with all the solutions. Please do click on the description and download it and you'll get it. Over here, you can see it's sine theta plus 60. 2 is there. This is the same concept what you have done, but the amplitude is 2, so maximum minimum value will be 2 and minus 2. Here it's half, the same thing. And now here the b value changes. That means the period shifts, period changes. I told you the period formula is 2 pi by b, isn't it? Now what is b value? B value is 3, so it's 2 pi by 3. This is the answer. Okay, 2/3 pi. Now if you look carefully, here it goes and it finishes its period at 2/3 pi. Now if you're finding this very difficult to graph, there is an easy way to understand this. Look, what is this exactly? And what is the period? These are two important periods. You can do calculator. We have done it already. Type this as it is, you'll get the answers. But one more thing is, always what is the shift that must be there, or half of this. Why? Because this is over here, sorry, not half of that. The period, it is 2 pi by 3, right? From 0, write 2 pi by 3 no matter what. Okay, from 0 to pi by 3. What is half of 2 pi by 3? It's pi by 3. And what is half of pi by 3? It is pi by 6. And over here, midpoint of 2 pi by 3 and pi by 3 is pi by 2. Half of that. So only mark these 4 points. And then once you get these 4 points, how you get from the period? Just substitute this pi instead of theta. I will show you in the calculator. Let's take calculator. Just substitute. Now we need to go back to computation mode. Over here, half is 0.5 multiplied by sine 3. Okay, now over here, sine, this 3 is multiplied. Okay. Now over here, one important thing. If you are using this 3, then again open a bracket. Okay, sine of 3, open a bracket. And now theta is what? Choose 0 will be 0, pi by 6. Let's write pi divided by 6 minus pi divided by 3, it's pi by 3, close the bracket and close one more bracket. And what is the answer? It's negative half. Is it true? Yes. So this is the thing. Once you get these 4 points, just graph this much, it's enough. You technically must get full marks for this because you have graphed one cycle, one period cycle is what that's required in graphing this. And then the other just extend it. That's it. Just put little dash, enough. So this is how you do it. Now here, how you do that? After you get the period, midpoint of period, half of this. And half of that again over here, and the midpoint of these 2 points over here. You'll get 4 points only in the xy. And then look at the domain, the amplitude. That means amplitude is half, 1, so on. Then put this pi, these 4 values, put it in the calculator. Now I'll change this. From pi by 6, I'll make it to pi by 3. Now you'll get 0 here. Now change this to pi by 2. You should get positive half. And lastly, you will put 2 pi by 3 over here. 2 pi by 3. This is 0. This is it. This is enough to graph. That's how we basically do it. And then accordingly, the range over here will be from minus 0.5 to plus 0.5. Domain is all real numbers. Same concept everywhere anymore. Just remember, get this period and then easily solve it up. So please do these problems by yourself. This is pretty easy. And even if it's 1/4, it's just that it'll be like this. 0.25 is the maximum, minus 0.25 is minimum. Now over here, what I would personally suggest is instead of degrees, stick with radians. Because you need to convert your calculator. It's a big hassle. So how to convert this 30 into radian? In calculator, just divide 30 by 180. So it's 180. You'll get 1 by 6. So this is 1 by 6 pi. Doesn't matter what, you can write the same question as 1 theta minus 1 by 6 pi and then solve it up, or pi by 6 and then solve it up. So it's up to you, but generally it's better to keep it in radians. Or if you're comfortable with the degree, it's the same thing, doesn't matter. Now this one is a peculiar problem where we have plus 3. Whenever there is plus 3, the starting point of 0, 0 shifts to 3 points up. Now the midline is at 3. Can you see that? So this is the answer. Okay. Now here at -1 means all the midline shifts at -1. See, the midline is -1. And then graph it. Just think the x-axis is at -1 and graph it accordingly. This can be ignored. If you know this graph, class, you know how to graph it easily. Just the midpoint over here, the 0, 0 will be shifted. Even over here, it's up now by pi by 2. And over here, it's -5. See, the same graph what you're doing. 2 cos theta is so easy. Just the amplitude changes. Then everything is cos graph, but it shifted to -5. And over here as well, just shifting the midline. And lastly, over here, shifted by 7. And all the operations together. This is the answer. Please do practice more problems and try to be thorough with this topic. Solve by yourself and then check for the answers. And that is it. That's the end of all the exam questions. Again, I'm sorry because it got delayed. I hope these have been beneficial. Please do try to write, solve problems on your own, and then check the answers. Don't just blindly watch the videos. Please do it. Do try, solving by yourselves. And one last thing, I would highly appreciate if you guys can subscribe to my channel. That would mean so much to me. And all the best for your exam. I wish everyone will get great marks. Do well, guys. Happy learning.